The next type I'd like to introduce is a Boolean type. So Boolean type is a type which could have only two values, either true or false. We can introduce a variable x, which is true, or we can introduce a variable y, which is false. And in many cases in programming, you would need to use conditional statement to check whether certain certain conditions are true or false. You can check the type for y, and it says bool, which stands for Boolean. For example, you can use mathematical operations to compare different numbers, right? 3 greater than 2. Is it true or false? It is true. 3 greater or equal than 2. Yeah, this is true as well. So in addition, well, you can ask whether 3 is less or equal than 2, and that would be false. In addition to greater than, greater or equal, there is an operator called not equal, which is defined as exclamation mark in equality, right? 5 is not equal to 2, and this is true. Here, and there is an operation which is given by double equality. This is not an assignment. This is an operator which checks whether this equals to that. And well, 5 is not equal to 2, which is obviously, which gives us false. So for example, I don't know, a equals 3, and we can check a equals 3, right? It's 3. I want to emphasize this big difference. For this operation, we did an assignment, and in the second line, we checked whether this value is equal to the value of the variable a. By the way, I want to emphasize if I reset, so delete all the values of all the variables and do this again, it will give me an error because it is not an assignment. We're not assigning something to a variable. We're trying to call this variable and get its value, and it's not defined. So name A is not defined. Of course, well, in addition to mathematical operations, you can use Boolean values for other things. For example, go into our previous topic on strings. You can check whether something is in string. Let's introduce my string is hello, and I can check it. My string, right? And I want to check if a letter H is in hello. H in my string. And it says true. Yeah, it's true. It's the first letter of the string. Or I can also check if small h is in this string, and that would be false because it has only capital H and it distinguishes the two symbols from each other. We can also use an operator not and check whether h is not in my string, and that would be true. Well, speaking of that, not is one of the logical operators. The main three logical operators is this operator not, and also operators and or. So let's introduce two Boolean variables. So let A be true and B be true. So simple logic tells us that A and B, well, that would be true only if both of these will be true. So A and B will be true. Now, if let me introduce C, which is false, and A and C will give me false because one of them is false. Well, additionally, I can introduce an operator OR, which will be true if at least one of the operands is true. So if I say A or C, well, it will be true because A is true and C is false. If I now introduce D, which is false, and do D or C, it will be false because both of them are false. And it's quite instructive and it's quite useful in programming languages, in Python in particular, to build different conditions for your Boolean operators. So to check something like not A or B, or A and not B, and so on, and to check different of those conditions. And finally, when speaking about Boolean variables, logic, and so on, we will introduce a very important thing for all programming languages, and Python in particular. We will introduce conditional statements. So if we want to check if something is, well, if the letter H is in my string hello, and so on and so forth, we can introduce it by using this statement if. So let's say my string is hello, and if I actually want to check if a certain letter is in my string, I would use my if statement. If n is in my string, and this is an important part of Python syntax, you need to end these with a colon. Then if I press enter, I can start typing on the next line, and I can print something here. I can, for example, say H is in my string. So that's because this thing in the condition which we're checking is true. So if it's true, it's executed. If it were false, let's say, instead of H capital, I would be checking for small h here in my string, and if I run the same exact code, it will not give me anything because the condition is not satisfied, so this instruction is not executed. So if can be also used with an else statement. For example, I can say if H is in my string, print this, and then hold on a second, else print. I'm not sure if my indentation will work correctly here because I think this should be like that. The indentation is extremely important in Python. Okay, it is not. And now let me execute it. Well, it checked this condition is false. If it is false, it goes to this else statement and executes the code inside the else statement. Finally, you can use even more conditions. For example, if H in my string, I can say print yes, elif gives you an elif gives you an additional statement to check. Don't forget to put the semicolon after it, and here print, elif, I need to add an instruction here. Elif, let's say O in my string, and I can say print at least there is an O. Okay, and else print there is nothing. Okay, so now when I execute it, right, this appears to be false, but it doesn't go straight to this else condition because it checks another condition. Another condition we're checking is O is in my string, and indeed in the word hello we have a letter O, so this is true, so this is executed, and it prints this line here. So you can, for example, you can say, well, you can have a much more advanced conditions to check, and this is frequently the case. For example, let's check if my string starts with the letter H, be it a capital letter or be it a small letter. If my string, and we want to say it starts from it, so it's a 0th element, equals to H. Or we're checking another condition, my string, again, the 0th or first element equals to H small, and then I put the semicolon, enter, and IPython makes the indentation for me automatically. I can say print it can be the word hello. And if I want to add quotation marks here, it's actually quite important, because if you put a quotation mark, you would close your string. So to actually use a quotation mark symbol, you need to use / quotation mark. And there are several symbols like that, which we'll talk more later about. So it could be the word hello. All right, and this condition is satisfied. This is true, this is false. True or false give me true, and then this instruction is executed. So as a result of my if statement, it prints me this sentence.